Today, we're covering the least offensive resident of New Jersey, the Jersey Devil. Good morning, sunshine. Happy Wednesday, and welcome back to Tiger's Occult Books and Research. We had another request from our good friend Outlaw Messenger, and this time he's asking us to cover some American mythology. Although I use the term very loosely, New Jersey is only American by the most technical of definitions, namely geographically. Everything else about New Jersey sucks. Anyway, I'm your friendly internet paranormal researcher and investigator, Dr. Morris. If you like the work we're doing here, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you get notified every time we cover a new entity, or, even better, go ahead and join us on the Discord server and have a chat with other like-minded individuals. So, let's discuss our source material. It's not in Bain's, Illy's, or even Guiley's Encyclopedia of Spirits. I checked. It's not referenced in Bain's or Guiley's Demon Encyclopedias. It's not in Bellinger's Expanded Dictionary of Demons. It's not in Conway's Demonology and Devil Lore, Volume 1 or 2. And it's not in Connolly's Complete Book of Demonolatry. It's too new for references in the Malleus Maleficarum by Kramer and Sprenger, Pseudo-Monarchia Demonium by Weyer, or even King James's Demonology. So tracking this one down has been interesting. I did get a hit in Le Carrere's Atlas of Cursed Places, though, so we're going to use this to start with, and we'll fill in the rest with the usual smattering of further research. I'm going to tell you where it comes from, how to identify it, what it does, we'll address any ethical concerns, and then we'll make sure we go over safe interaction with the entity if you should ever come across the Jersey Devil during your travels. Or you can just stay out of New Jersey. I find that works very well for me. So let's get started with the origins. The origins analysis is pretty interesting this time around. The vast majority of references to this entity come from travel guides and local legend books, mostly from local authors. For many years, the story was something of a local legend, always referring to a story that my friends, cousins, next-door neighbors saw at one time. Honest. And as such, there are as many variations on the origin story as there are New Jerseyans, which is far too many for my liking. In fact, it's actually unknown just how long the oral tradition stories predate any legitimate documentation. Some sources suggest encounters from local Native American tribes, while others point to the Leeds family from Burlington story that starts in 1735. Still, a third version of the story claims that the entity came from a totally different Leeds family from near Mays Landing, New Jersey. Yet another version points to Leeds Point, New Jersey. The one commonality is that it all involved a Leeds family or a Leeds location, leading to its original name, the Leeds Devil, or the Devil of Leeds. Moving along into the physical identification methods, I think the most famous, immediately recognizable image of the Jersey Devil is this one. It comes to us from the Evening Bulletin Philadelphia on January 21st, 1909, published during a rash of the sightings. Starting from the head, we can see that it has a goat-like head, although some depictions describe it as a horse-like head. Either way, it's usually depicted with either rounded or pointed ears. Moving down, it has a long neck with bat-like wings. This image shows small arms with hoofed hands, although some legends describe it as having small arms with clawed hands. It has a vaguely equine or cervine trunk. It sports a very thin barbed or forked tail. And lastly, it has spinally thin legs terminating in hooves. So, the parent company of Tiger's Occult Books and Research actually encountered and classified the entity for us in 1997, but the publicly available records of the event are wildly exaggerated and technically incorrect, and the internal documentation is annoyingly incomplete. Apparently, somebody with an absolutely illegible signature was tasked with doing the write-up, and that person simply wrote, "Jersey Devil kicked its butt, illegible signature." Very, very helpful, that employee. I hope he got fired. The Jersey Devil does, however, dance on the line between a Class 4, a former human, and a Class 6, an animal, if only due to the circumstances of its birth. However, I find arguments in favor of the Class 6 to be more convincing, so I'm going to classify, describe, and identify it as a Class 6 corporeal cryptid. So we're going to explain that in the folklore tales and legends. The first story we're really going to dig into is the 1735 dated one with Mother Leeds of Burlington. Apparently, this Mrs. Leeds had already given birth to 12 children when she became pregnant the 13th time. As we all know, 13 is, of course, the unlucky number and all that, often with satanic connotations included. So Mrs. Leeds, upset at the fact that she was with child again, cursed, "Let the child be the devil." As a predictable result in this line of work, surprise! The baby was born normally and promptly grew wings and a tail and flew out the window towards the Pine Barrens. Modern research from Mike Mallow's article, The Enduring Reign of the Jersey Devil, printed in the Philadelphia Bulletin on October 30th, 2008, identifies Mrs. Leeds as Deborah Leeds because they actually found her husband, Japhet Leeds' will, dated 1736, showing 12 children. Japhet and Deborah Leeds also happened to live in Leeds Point, so the puzzle pieces begin to fit together. In the 1855 dated story, a different Mrs. Leeds from Estaville this time rejected her baby and wished the stork would deliver a devil instead. So again, predictably, she gave birth to a winged devil, and in this story, for a change of pace, it also flew out the window towards the Pine Barrens as soon as it was born. Now, Dr. Brian Regal of Keene University has an interesting theory about the different Mrs. Leeds in the stories. The Leeds family was actually quite large and prominent in New Jersey during the colonial era. One family member, Titan Leeds specifically, printed an almanac that rivaled none other than Benjamin Franklin. In an attempt to drive his competition out of business, Benjamin Franklin predicted in the first edition of Poor Richard's Almanac that Titan Leeds would in fact die on October 17, 1733, at precisely 3:29 p.m. Franklin then told his readers to buy next year's edition to see if he got it right. Despite the fact that Titan Leeds did not actually die at the indicated time and date, Franklin went ahead and published the obituary anyway. Titan Leeds, predictably angry at Franklin, pointed out that he was in fact still alive. Ben Franklin, being Ben Franklin, publicly told Leeds that Leeds was in fact dead, and the man claiming to be Leeds was just a poor imposter. When Leeds did actually pass away in 1738, Franklin congratulated the imposter for finally giving up the ruse. And Ben Franklin was a menace. Anyway, back to Dr. Regal's theory. As we can see with the Franklin and Leeds spat, colonial-era Americans had absolutely no limits pertaining to what they'd do to make someone else look bad, including possibly describing an opposing family as being made up of monsters and Satanists, and giving birth to still more monsters. So it is entirely possible that Titan Leeds, who was publishing astrology in his almanacs, was being branded a heretic or a blasphemer, and possibly having rumors spread about giving birth to monsters as well. So now we've got those stories out of the way, we'll get into some of the sightings over the years. According to James McCloy and Ray Miller Jr.'s book, The Jersey Devil, Commodore Stephen Decatur actually saw the Jersey Devil while at the Hanover Mill Works for a cannonball forging inspection. Yes, that Stephen Decatur, who boarded the captured USS Philadelphia and burned her at the dock to prevent her from remaining in the hands of the enemy in what's been called the most daring raid of the century, and later the Stephen Decatur who was captain of the USS Enterprise, and general U.S. Navy madman, maybe only second to John Paul Jones. So naturally, when Commodore Decatur saw the Jersey Devil, he did the only logical thing that someone like him could do. He fired a cannon at it, because of course he did. Now, it's said that the cannonball had no effect on the Jersey Devil. That might be just to save face. I'm not convinced that Decatur actually hit it. Maybe winged it, maybe it was a clean miss, but the cannons of that era weren't exactly precision weapons. Later, around 1820 or so, Napoleon Bonaparte's older brother Joseph said that he saw it while hunting in Bordentown. Still later, there were several livestock killings in 1840 that the Jersey Devil was blamed for. But most curiously, between January 16th and 23rd of 1909, there were hundreds of reported sightings and encounters of the Jersey Devil. So many sightings that schools and businesses closed and people sheltered in place, hiding from it. Even the Philadelphia Zoo promised a reward of $10,000 for its capture. Now, keep in mind, $10,000 in 1909 would be $362,871 today, so the Philly Zoo was hot to get their hands on a unique specimen. A bunch of hoaxes turned up, but nothing substantive. Still later, according to Mark Moran and Mark Sickerman's Weird New Jersey, Your Travel Guide to New Jersey's Local Legends Best Kept Secrets, a farmer in Greenwich Township shot something as it tried to steal his chickens in December of 1925. He supposedly photographed the corpse of whatever he shot, later claiming that no one he showed the photograph to was able to identify it. That being said, I can't find a copy of that supposed photograph, so I don't really know what to tell you. There were still more sightings in Downingtown, Pennsylvania in 1937, and still more in Gibbstown, New Jersey in 1957, and yet more back in Mays Landing in 1960. So let's move into the ethical considerations. A lot of the lore has the Jersey Devil killing livestock, chickens, sometimes kidnapping children, but overall, the general behavioral patterns are more similar to a predatory animal rather than an intelligent, deliberately conscious mind capable of malice, which is why I'm leaning towards a Class 6. A Class 4 former human would exhibit more intelligence. The only reason this entity is considered supernatural in the first place is due to the supposed stories of its birth, and I'm not actually sure that they're accurate or just the result of colonial-era defamation. So I wouldn't advise really deliberately hunting this entity. Self-defense of yourself, your children, and your chickens is always authorized, but I really doubt that this is a virulent entity that needs to be scourged from the planet. Maybe see if the Philly Zoo is willing to pay that bounty. Make sure they adjust for inflation. As for the safe interaction protocols, it seems that in a lot of these folktales and legends, the Jersey Devil is frequently getting shot and leaving behind a mysterious corpse that nobody can identify. Of course, these corpses and supposed photographs have all but dried up with the advent of cell phones and the fact that everybody's got a camera these days. It's hard to say. Maybe it existed, maybe it didn't, maybe the lead story was true, maybe it was just open defamation by another family. Maybe it was just a previously unknown and undescribed local indigenous animal, and it's been reproducing and living in small numbers all along. It's hard to say, and unless we're willing to excavate all of the Pine Barrens, I think it's unlikely that we'll find Jersey Devil corpses. So, on the surface, if a farmer can blast it with a shotgun, I think you're all right with whatever you've got on hand. The Quakers used to throw salt and pepper around the house to keep it away. Also, well, once again, iron makes an appearance, so if you're going to use iron in your shotgun, make sure you use those plastic shot cups so you don't gouge out your barrel. There is also folklore that indicates that it is weak to bright light and fire, so, you know. Anyway, that's some of the information I was able to dig up about the Jersey Devil. I hope you found it informative. Thank you again, Outlaw Messenger, for asking about this one. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. You can find me on all of the regular alt-tech sites as well, depending on how tight you've got your tinfoil hat. If you have an entity you need me to cover, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below, or better yet, join us in the Discord server. I think that's the easiest way to get in touch with me so I can cover your entity for you. The link is in the description box down below. Till next time, fellas, I'll see you down here at the lad. Jersey. I hate Jersey.